Hi, this is Joe Welsh from Core Restaurant Marketing, and today I have with me Zack Oates, who's the president and founder of Ovation. Zack, why don't you tell us a little bit about Ovations and the role that you folks fill in the marketplace?
Yeah, so Ovation is an actionable guest feedback tool. And our whole concept is think about how do guests currently give feedback to restaurants? Back in the day, you have you would have a table touch where somebody would come up and would ask, "How is everything?" And 90% of the time, if there was a problem, they would lie about it and say everything was fine. And then what they would do is they'd go into the parking lot and leave you a one-star review on Yelp. What we wanted to do was create a more efficient model for guests to give feedback. Because I don't know about you, Joe, but if someone forgets a side dish and I order delivery, am I going to take a 75 question survey to let them know? No, absolutely not. So where does that guest go? What is it? What happens nowadays? Well, what we do at Ovation is we provide a digital table touch. So that way, no matter how they ordered, whether it's online, third party, in store, drive through, you can ask them, how was everything? And if it was great, we invite them to leave positive online reviews. And if it wasn't, then they chat instantly and privately with you or your staff, where you can resolve it through our app in real time. And to the guest, it's all SMS based. And to you, it's a simple app. And then at the end of the day, we have all the reporting to aggregate the positive reviews, the private feedback, to show trends of what's going well and what needs to be improved.
Okay, with that in mind, I guess what made you want to start this up as opposed to the way things had always been done? Where did you see that need, or that void you wanted to fill?
So I grew up in the restaurant space. My first job was at Friendly's. For those of you who don't know, the peanut butter sauce is good enough to just squeeze into your mouth like that. Um, and and then my dad, once he retired from the NFL, he had a cell phone store, a barbecue joint, a car wash. And so growing up, my chores, I worked in the restaurant, and then my chores were working with customers and working the till. And, that was what I did. And the feedback, the interaction that I had with guests usually was a little bit different because I cared, right? It was a family business, right? I cared about the guest. I cared about their experience. And I noticed that as problems came up, we could fix them in the moment if we knew about them. And we would want to fix them in the moment. But as things progressed digitally and online reviews became a lot more common, fewer and fewer people were willing to come up and talk to us. So after I graduated high school, I went on to college and got my MBA and started a few different technology companies. And after I sold those, I was thinking, okay, what do I want to do next? But this concept of the feedback, Joe, everywhere I went, every restaurant that I sat in, every place that I traveled, I noticed that they would always, there was no great way to give feedback. And the amount of effort it requires to do a receipt survey and the amount of stress that it causes for restaurants to get these negative reviews, it's like there's got to be a better way. Now, as you look at other solutions out there, you could look at loyalty apps and things like that, where there's a sliver of feedback. They'll add feedback onto their platform, so you can give feedback through DoorDash, through Uber Eats, through a loyalty program, through a point of sale. And the problem is then it gets really fractured and fragmented, and there's no way that you can really get a view of it. So what we've done is through integrations, through things like QR codes, through texting, phone numbers, through iPad kiosks, you're able to get a holistic view of all of your customers in one place, as opposed to going here and there and there and here to figure out what to do. And so this problem was one that I just kept on seeing over and over and over again. And like a lot of businesses that it starts with someone who's really sick of the problem. And as I interviewed a lot of restaurant owners, they were very sick of the problem. And so that's why at Ovation, go to our website, you'll see that we focus solely on restaurants. We love helping restaurants because that's where we have our expertise, and that's what we've built a product just for restaurants.
I'll come back to it because I've actually done something with a restaurant where we were able to pinpoint a problem and change the score dramatically. But the pandemic's been happening over the past year. How has that impacted your business and the restaurant's business too, from what you can see?
Well, that's a great question. The very first thing that we did, March 13th, 2020, that was kind of like Black Friday. Everything kind of went dark. That was when the NBA said that they were canceling games. It was like, okay, things are real. Stuff is happening. So what we did is we went all hands on deck, and the first thing that we did is we went together and put together a game plan of like what do restaurants need, and a couple things they needed is, one, they needed their customers to find out how do we order from you? Can we order from you? And two is they needed a way to communicate that to their customers. And so what we did is we created a website where any restaurant for free could go in there and add in all of the ways that customers could order through them. And then we gave all of those restaurants free texting to communicate with their customers. And we did the same thing for our customers. We actually, all hands on deck, everyone at the company called every single customer one by one to make sure that they knew what services that were at their disposal to help them out. And it was interesting because we had a lot of customers who came back and said, look, we canceled everything during Ovation, during the pandemic, except for Ovation. But for us, it really was a huge drop in revenue because we stopped charging our customers. Because, if anyone who wasn't open, obviously, I don't care what they signed. I'm not going to charge you if you're not making money, So we stopped doing that. So that hurt for a while, but at the end of the day, and we were giving out a bunch of stuff, so that didn't help. But at the end of the day, we looked at the industry and we thought, okay, how can we help? And we have, one of our core values is to build value, and this was our time to prove it. So I think that in terms of what we were able to do is really focus. And that's what a lot of people have done. And through the pandemic, I was reading an article about Applebee's. They cut a third of their menu, and they're going forward, they're not adding that back. And so what happened is, I feel like so many people, ourselves included, really got focused and said, what do we do well? What do we do better than anyone else? And how do we do more of that? And that's what we did. And we saw that all these other things that we were doing that were helping weren't our core competencies. And so we started to, instead of trying to do a lot more, we actually did a lot less. And we focused on guest feedback. We cut down our services. We pared back our solution, and we partnered with other people who did the same thing in adjacent spaces. So instead of doing loyalty, we now partner with people who do loyalty. Instead of doing marketing, we now partner with people who do marketing. And we focus on that guest feedback, and we really play nicely with others. That's been something for us that has been a huge change. And just as we look at philosophically, how do we think about Ovation in terms of where it fits in the restaurant? And I think every vendor, every partner needs to understand that their solution is not the end all be all, right? There needs to be a harmony of tools that work together at an affordable rate so that restaurants can pay for it, and that it's driving value or saving cost. And if I'm not bringing in more money or saving more money, then I'm not worth it, right? And that was the philosophy that we really took on, is that we want to build and show value, or else we don't deserve to be a partner with you.
It's funny because a lot of people at that time really had to reel it in and focus on what they do best to make it work. And you're right. One of the cool things about the industry was when the crisis hit, people joined together and say, okay, we're all getting hurt here.
Yeah.
So how do we make it work? And the billing and all that, we'll work through all that. Okay, but the first thing was, how do you make it work? Now, I got to tell you, one of the reasons I became aware of your company was because I have a client that wanted to. He was getting a lot of takeout order business, but it was coming through Grubhub and DoorDash and all those, and he wanted to convert those people to ordering from his own direct site. Mm-hmm. And he found out about you folks, and we talked. And here again, that's part of a way of which your service can bring value. Can you expand on that a little bit?
Yeah. So, I mean, here's at the end of the day, there's one thing, Joe, that I just need to make sure that I say this and I get this off my chest. Ladies and gentlemen, listeners, brothers and sisters, can we please unstick the stickers? If you have an order DoorDash sticker on your door, take it off. If you have an order from Grubhub on your website, take it off. They are your customers. You've earned them. They've made it to your door, to your website. Do not push them off to someplace else. Now, if you don't have your own online ordering system, there are some fantastic partners that I could recommend for you. But at the end of the day, they are your customers and you should own them. That is a huge belief that we have. And there is a great service that third parties can offer. And being on that marketplace can be a great way to get new customers. But it should be a great way to get new customers, not new orders. See what I'm saying? You can't afford, at least the restaurants that I work with aren't dealing with 30% margins. You might be a little bit different, but the ones we work with aren't dealing 30% margins. And so, yes, it's incremental, but you can make your own incremental sales. And so what we do is customers who order, you could do things like put a bag stuffer in there. And for us, it's get $5 off your next order if you let us know how your experience was. When they rate their experience, they give you their name, their phone number, their contact information. And then we have an automated message that goes out after they rate their experience to give them a $5 coupon to a direct ordering service. And this has been able to help convert anywhere between, depending on how diligent people are, 5 to 18% of those third party to order first party. And people will do a lot for $5. And if your average order is around, depending on what your DoorDash order, depending on what your third party commission structure is and your average ticket value, what we've done with a lot of our customers is just kind of pick a dollar amount that is a little bit more aggressive than what they would pay to a DoorDash or an Uber Eats. And that way you're not even losing money, right? That's money that they would have ordered through DoorDash or Uber Eats, and now that's going to go to you. And if I survey 100 restaurant owners and I say, would you rather pay DoorDash $5 or would you rather pay your customer $5? Out of 100 restaurants, I bet you 99 are going to raise their hand and say, I'd rather pay my customer that $5. Yep. And so that's what we're looking to do. And so you can incentivize your customers to order direct. But like I said, don't do all this work to get someone there and then push them to a third party. And if right now you think you can't afford online ordering for yourself, there are a lot of very affordable solutions that are going to drive revenue for you by doing that.
Yeah, it's interesting, and it's very timely too, because I got a phone call yesterday from a client who said, I need help. He just got through his commission statement, I'll call it. And last month he paid out, I believe it was about $9,000 to third-party companies.
That's how many employees is that, right? Like, yeah. And if you can take that $9,000 and reduce that by 30% and get people to order first party, I mean, that's huge. We're talking some big dollars. And then, Joe, the cool thing is that you can track their entire order history. You can see when they're ordering. You can invite them to come back and order again. You can, tell them about the big, the big game and order wings ahead. Those are all things that are possible when you own the data.
Yeah.
But when they are, when it's basically like kind of like a prisoner where the window slides open, you hand out the food and you don't know where that food's going. You can't do anything to bring those people back.
One of the things, and I alluded to this earlier, was with review scores. A lot of people just look at it and say, oh, I'm a 4.2 or I'm a 3.8 or I'm a 4.9 or whatever, and don't really go in and look at the data behind the review. And to me, the reviews are a great teaching tool. And I'll just share this little story with you. I have a client that he spent a lot of money renovating an old train station into a beautiful restaurant. And he couldn't get his review score above a 3.5. He just couldn't. And at that point in time, that's kind of when I got involved, and I put in a process for reviews and started looking at the data and saw that, well, for food, he was getting around a 4.5 score. Service, he was around a 4.3. For bar, he was a 3.2.
Oh.
Okay. And then I went and looked into some of the reviews. Now, picture this restaurant, an old train station in the county seat, right down the street from the courthouse. On a Friday, he had a big happy hour. And when you look at the reviews, people were complaining about the bar only having one server for a very long bar. So people were complaining about how long they had to wait to get a drink or a refill. So we sat and reviewed this. And the guy said, okay, we'll change the staffing at the bar. All of a sudden, the reviews went up. So the reviews can be a teachable moment if you take it as that, rather than just at what's my score?
Amen.
Okay, so that's one of the things that I've personally experienced in working with customers in reviews, that your customers are telling you where the problems are. What are you doing to fix them? And I'll be honest with you, going back to some of the third-party things, a lot of bad reviews are all relative to third-party delivery companies right now, to be honest with you.
Well, and if you want some data to back that up, if an online review mentions a third-party delivery company, on average, that review is 1.5 stars less than the average review. So if you're getting a 4.0 or a 4.5, call it 4.5 average on Google, if it mentions a third-party delivery, that rating is going to be on average a 3.0 stars. So they're frustrated. They were forgiving for the first couple months, and now they're done, right? They're done with it. You need to have your act together. Otherwise, you are going to get raked across the coals. And we've seen this time and time again with our customers. And one of the things that's interesting is, if you look at it, Joe, as we talked about, you're not going to fill out this long receipt survey. And so where else are they going to give feedback? Well, here's the problem. We've done a lot of research with consumers, and we've asked them, why do you give feedback? What is your end result? And, I think a lot of restaurateurs may disagree with this finding, but turns out it's not to make them go out of business and put them in a homeless shelter and try to get them in prison. And, that's not the goal of people who give feedback. They want to feel heard. And if you don't give them a place to feel heard privately, they will do so gladly publicly. But what we've done at Ovation is we've created a system that is so frictionless for the guest that it's easier to give feedback through Ovation than it is to leave an online review. And they get an incentive, either $5 off your next order, or your chance to win a $100 gift card, which is, by the way, some free advice. Your chance to win a $100 gift card is what gets the highest amount of surveys taken on the Ovation platform. We've tried iPads, hats, $25, $50, $250, $500, $1,000. That $100 will get the most amount of engagement because people think, oh, this is like I might be able to win this, right?
Yeah.
It's low enough that it's seems reasonable, but it's high enough that it's worth taking a couple seconds. The other thing to note is that if you are going to ask questions and not use Ovation, which is totally fine because I super recommend connecting with your guests. We've just built an easy button to do it all, and we have a whole bunch of bells and whistles that are going to drive revenue. But if you want to just do it, use QR codes. QR codes are they're back on the rise, and this time they're here to stay because they've integrated with cameras and with menus and things like that. Everybody knows how to use a QR code now. My grandmother knows how to use a QR code. And so what we're looking at is we're looking at an opportunity to take advantage of the technology that people are carrying around in their pocket, which is their mobile device, an opportunity to use that $100 gift card and talk with your guests and make sure that of all of your questions, if you tally up all of your questions, including name, phone number, and everything, do not make it more than 5 questions. We have a 2-question survey outside of contact information, and that's why the most questions you could ask is how was it? Tell us more, name, number, and then an optional email, and that's it. You want to keep it so simple for that guest so they want to give you feedback, and then you need to make sure that they feel heard, because just venting is good. But if you want to make an exceptional experience, respond to them, blow them away, let them know that you actually read their feedback. And if they took time to give it to you, take time to respond to it.
I find that most restaurants don't respond to reviews. They just simply don't want to put that effort into it. But the reality of it is you'd like to be heard and felt that you've been listened to as well.
Yes.
And feedback is the best way to show that. I heard a comment once that for every review, whether it's good or bad, there's about 10 people that had a similar experience but never shared that. You ever heard anything like that?
So it's actually higher if it's negative. So 1 out of every complaint you hear, 26 people had the same complaint and didn't voice it. And wow. And so you think about all those people that took the effort to pull up their phone, look up your friend's restaurant, your client's restaurant, click down, scroll, click to leave a review, click 1 star, type out a review, hit enter. You think about the effort that takes. And people say, oh, that's not a lot. That's just like all on your phone clicking around. I have a friend who started a company that did QR code scanning. And his company simplified looking for the QR code, swiping your screen, and clicking an app, right? That's what it simplified. Swiping a screen and clicking the app. He sold that company for $50 million because it removed a swipe and a tap. And so You're telling me, think of all the effort that it takes to go pull up the app, pull up the restaurant, pull up the reviews, find it. It takes a lot of effort. And so what we want to do then is we want to minimize that effort so they give it to you privately. And then, like you said, is that ability to respond to that guest is so important. If someone leaves you a review online, respond to it, even if it's negative. Scratch that, especially if it's negative, because you need a chance to tell your side of the story. A lot of times I'll see a review. My wife left a 3-star review one time. It's very, very hard to get a 3-star review. Typically, you see a lot of 1s, low 2, 3, 4, and then a lot of 5s. That's typically the review curve that you see. My wife left a 3-star review for a pizza restaurant. We went there, we ate, and it was kind of bland. And we love pizza. I'm from Jersey, where pizza was invented. And my wife lived in Italy. We go to the International Pizza Expo every year. We love pizza. So she left this 3-star review. The owner gets on and just rips her apart. Says, oh, maybe you just like frozen pizza. You don't even know what good pizza is. We only use great ingredients, you obviously don't have a good taste for pizza. And my wife was like, what? Went in, changed her review to 1 star, and then listed all of her qualifications for why she knows pizza. Like, why didn't this guy just say, hey, thanks for your feedback. Would love to hear what could we have done better?
I always advise people respond in a professional way and don't leave any dust.
Yeah, because
as we get down here, I wanted to focus in on really, have you established a way to identify what the return on investment is for your services, and I guess how it relates to other marketing services as well?
Yeah, so there's 3 ways that we look at the ROI, and then there's one kind of like soft way. The soft way, first of all, is operational improvement. So the thing that you were talking about of like not enough servers at the bar. Well, what we do is we have an algorithm that will look at all of the public reviews on Google, Yelp, Facebook, TripAdvisor, OpenTable, look at all of the private feedback that Ovation is collecting, because we're getting 18, 20 times more feedback than receipt surveys and other methods. And so you combine all that together and you get a lot of reviews. Now, not everyone can take the time like you did, Joe, to go through, tag, categorize, analyze, and look through all that data. Our algorithm does that for you. And so you're able to see trends and ways to make improvements. For example, one of our customers, Cali Barbecue, Sean Walchef, he is an incredible restaurateur, and he's got a great podcast called Digital Hospitality. He uses Ovation, huge fan. And one of the things that he found was that on his online ordering system, people were upset about the brisket pretty often. And when he went and they were complaining that some people were saying it was too fatty, some people were saying it was too lean. And his online ordering system just had brisket. It didn't specify fatty or lean brisket. So he was able to make that operational change to split out fatty and lean, and satisfaction went up. He stopped getting that complaint. And he realized it wasn't an issue with his brisket. It was an issue with how his menu was showed online.
Yeah.
Or we had another customer who was using this online ordering platform for a year, used Ovation, and within 1 week found out that all of the special requests for the last year, Joe, had not been making it onto the tickets. They never knew. And within 1 week of using Ovation, they found out. So you have these operational improvement opportunities with Ovation. But in terms of actual revenue, first of all, the number one factor of how you rank on Google is the velocity of 5-star reviews. And so we've been able to help increase our traffic to restaurants by over 300% because they went from page 7 to page 1 in 2 months. 2 is the amount of customers saved. So we will actually track a dissatisfied customer that you responded to, came back, and you're able to see how many customers per week are you saving. And for a lot of our customers, a lot of our restaurants, a customer is worth over $1,000 if you look at what the value is of that customer. And then lastly, what we do is we have an SMS tool, a text marketing tool, where you can invite people to come back on a slow day, or you could just send automatic reminders. And we're getting, one of our customers, he sends out that text message and he drives $2,400 of revenue that day and the next. And so he sends it out twice a month, $2,400. And that number keeps on going up as he's using Ovation to add more and more people to that text database. So as we look at what Ovation is, we look at ourselves as an actionable guest feedback platform that actually drives revenue. Because at the end of the day, like I said, if I'm not helping you see the value in making operational changes that save you money, or in driving revenue by bringing you in customers, hey, you deserve to fire me. And thus far, we have a very good track record of keeping our customers happy. Our ratings online, you won't find anything. Our ratings online are 5 stars, and even internally, our private ratings are 4.8 stars because we eat our own dog food, Joe. We use Ovation to ask our customers, how is your experience with Ovation? Because we care about feedback. Go figure.
Yeah. It's funny that as I talk with restaurant owners, and They know the terms of review management, online ordering, uh, search visibility, all those kinds of things, but they don't know what it means to them dollars and cents wise. So one of the things that we try to do with our customers say, okay, based on your metrics and industry averages, here's what these services should mean to you, dollars and cents. And it really helps them prioritize, okay, where should I start?
Yeah,
But
exactly.
as I said, most people, they know the marketing terms, but they don't know what it really means to them, dollars and cents. And I really like your example of how somebody uses the text messaging automation to drive business on a Tuesday, Wednesday.
Yes.
Most restaurants haven't really taken advantage of automation as well as they could. And I think that's part of the next frontier.
Oh, no, I totally agree. And I think that having that ability to communicate with your customers is essential. I know, Joe, that you and I have talked about this in our last call, but I look at things like email marketing and other tools like that. And going back to my earlier comment of Ovation is not everything for a restaurant, right? What we do better than anyone else is that guest feedback. And I don't say that based on my opinion. I say that based on a restaurantowner.com nationwide survey on who is the best. The question was, who is the best feedback platform? And Ovation came in as number one. And what was neat about that is I didn't find out about that survey until one of my customers emailed me and said, "Hey, congrats." And I was like, "Oh, that's cool." Um, but we need to work well with other platforms and other systems and do that in a very efficient way. And one of the things that we're able to do is, as I mentioned, the fifth optional question at Ovation is to enter your email address. Now, we don't do any email marketing. And a lot of people will say, well, does that mean that do you think that I should cancel my email marketing? I say, no way. Email marketing has a place, as does social media, as does texting. And it's all about funneling, right? You look at, you let customers know that you do catering. That's not necessarily something that you want to send in a text message. A text message is something that is actionable today. If they can't do it today, then don't send it in a text message. If it is something where you're informing them of, hey, we do catering, let us know, like we'd love to do your next birthday, that is an email. If you're saying, hey, we do catering and the Super Bowl is tomorrow, order right now, that's a text. And so as we look at a customer, as we look at a guest, a lot of times we hear out there in the market, Joe, that, hey, this is my within the four walls, and this is my online, and this is my third party. It's like, look, to the guest, they're just ordering pizza from you, right? And so you need to be able to look at all of those channels and to think, how does the guest want to receive communication? There may be some people out there who have a loyalty app. Well, look, you're not going to get a lot of people to download your loyalty app right off the bat, right? Unless you're giving away the farm. And in which case you'll get a very high adoption rate and a very low continued usage rate. But what you can do is you can invite people to your loyalty program by getting them to do something a little less effort to start off. And so that's why for us, what we'll do is we'll say, hey, just like let us know how your experience was. 2 questions for your chance to win a $100 gift card. And it's like, okay, I could do that. That's not a lot of work. And now you take that and you layer it on and you say, hey, I've noticed that you've had 3 good experiences here, and you can automate this, right? I noticed you've had a few good experiences here. Would you like to download our loyalty app and get free points? It's like, oh, well, yeah, you know who they are and you're inviting them in. A lot of times it's like people go for the kiss before they go on the first date. It's like, sure, that's how I met my wife. But besides that, it never worked before. And so you gotta ease things into it. And I think think of it in terms of layering that effort and communicating how the guest wants you to communicate with them. And for people who say, the other thing that I hear is, okay, well, if I'm doing text, should I not do email? The answer is no, absolutely not. Keep doing email. Email works. Email has a place. It's a different strategy, but it works. Then they'll say, okay, well, I don't want to do texting because I don't like it when companies text me. Well, okay, that's a focus group of one. And let me tell you, from sending millions, Ovation sends millions and millions and millions of text messages. Customers love it. And we always provide a way for them to opt out at every single text. And there are customers that do it with every single text. But it's a matter of, you may not like it, but if I'm raising my hand as a customer saying, hey, Joe, can you send me a text message once a week, please, with your specials? And Joe said, oh, no, I don't like texting, so I'm not going to do that. It's like, come on, you're leaving money on the table. Texting has a huge open rate. By huge, I mean 98% open rate for text messages. And we're getting customers that are getting upwards of 20% redemption rate. Not view rate, redemption, meaning that they click, they order, they complete a purchase using that code sent to them. 20%. That's big time.
That message you just delivered, I deliver it often to people that many times they'll think about what they want to do, what's good for the restaurant. But I always say, put yourself in the customer's shoes.
Yes.
What do they want? So that usually makes them step back and think things a little differently. So there's a good point you brought up there.
Yeah, and one thing that I will tell restaurateurs about Ovation is that I say, look, to be quite honest, I didn't create Ovation for you. I created Ovation, and I'm not developing it for you. You are the last person. Yes, you're paying me for the service, but you're the last person I built the product for. Why? Because it only works if it's really easy for the customer and very easy to respond to them. And then you get the data that you need, right? But you got to work from the bottom up. And I think that the problem is with some other feedback tools is they say, hey, what's all the data that you want? And now let's try to cram that down the throats of the guest in a very inefficient way that they don't enjoy. But as we take a bottoms up approach and we interview lots of guests, how do you want to give feedback? Why do you want to give feedback? And then we build the tools to make it work at that level, make it work at the store level, and make it work at the corporate level.
Yeah. Okay. Well, Zack, this has been really informative for me and also for the people that are going to be listening to this as well. So you've done a great job explaining what your company does and really how it interacts with a lot of other things, because at the end of the day, it's how do we help drive more revenue for the restaurant? And especially now, because the frontier has changed and technology will enable it to change even more. So the service you have is really great at driving that for today and for the future, I think. So I'd like to just say thank you for taking the time to spend with us, and appreciate everything you share with our guests.
Joe, thank you so much. Really appreciate you having me on.
All right. Take care, Zack. Have a good day.
Okay, bye-bye.